Welcome back to my channel. It's time for A Minute with Mom. I am your host, Tamara Johnson, and I am so glad that you have a moment to stop by and chat with me today. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of my new subscribers. I've recently gotten some new subscribers, so I want to say thank you so much for subscribing. And I want to say to my subscribers that have been with me for a while, hey, how are you? How's your summer going? How are you all doing? And I've missed you too. So without further ado, let's jump into today's video. It's going to be a quick one. I just had something on my heart that I wanted to share with you all. And it's on the topic of capacity. I was talking with a friend the other day, and I was sharing some grievances that I had going on in regards to people's ability or capacity to hold space for you during a difficult time, in difficult situations. Now, guys, we are in difficult times. There's no mistaking it, right? The world has gone bananas and things are happening to us. Things are happening around us. Things are happening in front of us. And, that can leave a lot of room for a lot of emotion and feelings to come up with whatever we're experiencing in life, whether it's what's going on in the world currently or what's happening to us personally. And there are times in these situations where we may feel like we want to unburden ourselves to people around us. We may feel like we want to be able to kind of vent with our loved ones and our friends and our families and those in our close-knit circles. And there are also those times when, as we are venting, as we are sharing, as we are lamenting, sometimes the response that we get back from other people can be off-putting. Sometimes it can be downright hurtful. Sometimes what we experience coming back after we've shared with someone can be at times dismissive or uncaring or insensitive. And that's where capacity comes in. Capacity comes in two ways in these instances. But before I get into that, I want to share with you the definition of capacity. So according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, capacity in its simplest definition is the ability to contain or deal with something. The ability to contain or deal with something. So when we're talking about capacity in this conversation, I want you to kind of keep that, at the forefront of your mind as we're discussing capacity and how that relates to you in your personal life and what you share versus what you don't share and who you share with. So one of the first things that I am learning currently, like real time, is that not everyone has the capacity to sit with whatever it is that you're sharing, to sit with your troubles, to sit with your trauma, to sit with your experiences, to sit with anything that you are dealing with that is affecting you in a negative way or in a positive way. It doesn't just have to be negative. Not everyone has the same capacity to hold space for you in any given situation. So there are times that you may have experienced where you've gone to someone and you wanted to share something that was important to you, whether it was a negative experience or a positive experience, and you share it with someone and they just kind of leave you hanging, they ghost you. Maybe there's a little bit of jealousy that arises out of what you've shared with them. Perhaps they've been dismissive toward you or downright rude and insensitive, and you're left feeling hurt. You're left feeling bewildered. You are offended. You are upset because in your mind, you're thinking, wow, I thought that because you're in my circle and because you have love for me and because you know me, that you would be able to support me or you would be able to celebrate me in this particular instance. That is not always true. You have to know who you're sharing your personal experiences with. You have to know who you're sharing your heart with. You have to know your capacity first to be able to hear other people's stuff and how you process that and how you manage that. And you have to also understand other people in your circle's capacity to hold space for you. So I want to give you a little bit of an object lesson to just kind of drive that point home a little bit, right? So I have this jar, right? It's a mason jar. And so this for all intents and purposes, let's just say that this is my capacity to hold space, to take up space. So here comes somebody and, you know, this is their jar, okay? Yes, it says Mario Badescu on it, but that's not what we're looking at right now. This is the other person's jar. And here are the contents of what they want or are asking me to hold space for them, right? So here they are, and they're pouring, and they're pouring, and they're pouring. Okay, well, this little bottle is 2 fluid ounces. This jar, I don't know how many ounces it is, but it's more than 2 fluid ounces. As a matter of fact, I could put the whole bottle in there and it can still pretty much hold the contents of what is in this bottle as well as the bottle. So it's safe to say that my jar, my capacity can hold what the person is sharing with me, right? That's my capacity. However, if we reverse the roles and let's just say that I'm the one that has the burden or has something positive that I want to share with somebody, and this is their capacity, and I try to pour whatever is in here into this jar, we know it's not going to fit, right? We could just look at it and see whatever is in here is not going to hold in here. Why? Because this person doesn't have the capacity for what I am carrying in my vessel. So I hope that makes sense to you. And that is the point of this conversation. When we're talking about capacity, it's so important that we as individuals have to first assess other people's ability to hold space for us. And we cannot expect them, if we know that this is their capacity for our stuff, we cannot expect them to fit all the contents of our stuff, and this is all that they can give you. Likewise, if you know that this is your capacity and you only have this much, you can't be accepting people trying to pour their contents into you. And so how do we remedy that? How do we get around this whole capacity issue? It's called boundaries. It's called awareness. You have to have the awareness for yourself, but you also have to have the awareness or learn the awareness for other people in your life. If you notice that every time you speak to a certain person in your circle and you want to share something with them, and let's just say this is their capacity and this is your capacity of stuff that you're wanting to share, and you're finding that, hey, every time I share with this person, I get a negative experience. I get a negative response, which would be your stuff can't hold in their vessel. And so they're either overflowing, they're not holding it, or they're withholding because maybe they understand, hey, I only have the capacity for this and you're bringing me this, and I don't want to hold space for you. I am not able to hold space for you. You can't get upset about that, especially if they're vocal about it and they're sharing with you and letting you know, listen, I'm sorry that you're having a hard time, but I am not able to hold that space for you at this time. You have to respect that. Yes, I know it hurts. Yes, I know you might be expecting, well, but you love me, but you know me. That has their love for you, their joy for you, their excitement for you has nothing to do with their capacity to celebrate you in a moment or a capacity to support you in a moment. They cannot give you what they don't possess. So maybe this is all they have at the moment. So then you don't pour the whole contents of your vessel into them. Maybe you don't share with them at all because you know, hey, I really need to pour this whole thing out. So you know that this is not the person that you can share the contents of this vessel with. I hope this is making sense to you. Also, if you realize that, you have a greater capacity for other people's stuff, you still want to kind of safeguard as to what people are pouring into you, because it's one thing to know that, hey, well, I have a great capacity. I'll use myself as an example. I have a great capacity for compassion. I'm a compassionate person. So when I see somebody suffering, my tendency is to open up my vessel and just let it pour it on, because I know that I can hold that space for them. However, I would very much like to caution you on how you go about doing that. The reason being is, even though you might have the capacity to hold more space for people, whether it be negative or positive, you always want to leave a little space in the container, in your vessel, in your heart for just you. Otherwise, what's going to end up happening is you have the capacity, and you also have to keep in mind, it's not just one person pouring into you, especially if you have a large capacity like I do. So a lot of times I will be hearing and receiving information from not just one person, but several people. After a while, when my container and my vessel is filled, I can't hold anymore. And then what ends up happening is now I put the lid on and I retreat, and I'm holding my jar back because I'm like, look, I'm done. I'm burned out. I can't hold it anymore. I can't, I don't have any more room. And I tend to withdraw away from people in my circle or certain circumstances where normally I would be gracious. I would be compassionate. I find myself being a little bit more selfish or, reluctant to have anybody pour anything because I know that I'm filled up. So you always want to leave some room, because you got to pour it out sometimes. Just because you have the large capacity to hold space for other people doesn't mean that you should always fill to capacity. No, leave some space in there. Leave some space in there for yourself. Leave some space in there for you to decompress from all the information that you are receiving and all the support that you are giving to people, whether it be positive or negative. You always have to leave room for yourself at the end of the day, because you will not be of any use to anyone if you are filled to capacity and don't have anything left to pour out and don't have anything left to be poured into you. So I hope that this little conversation, this talk, has kind of got your wheels spinning and got you into thinking and really assessing, what is my capacity to hold space for other people, and what are other people's capacity to hold space for me? And once you have your answer, conduct yourselves accordingly. If you need to make the adjustment, make the adjustment. It's okay. And know that it's okay that if this is all you have, there's no judgment on this. If this is all that you have, this is all that you have. You can't give people what you don't possess. And maybe you might look like this container right now. Maybe you have to be very selective as to what is poured into your vessel, because you're working with a lower capacity in this season. It's okay. There's no judgment. There's no shame in that. I don't always have this capacity. Depending on what's going on in my life, sometimes all I have is this. Back in 2019, I had less than this because I was going through some very trying times. Sometimes my capacity is this. And that's great. And I could take this, and I can take this and a couple of other things too. So, your capacity is not something that's always going to be a constant. Sometimes you're going to vary between capacity to hold space for people depending on the season that you're in. So that's also something that you want to kind of keep in the back and the forefront of your mind when you're dealing with the people in your circle. And I would encourage you, communication is key. If somebody's sharing something with you that is too heavy for you, You know, it's okay for you to say, you know what, so-and-so, I'm so sorry that you're having a hard time right now, but I don't have what you need. And encourage them. You can also encourage and support them to go seek professional help. There's nothing wrong with knowing your limits and communicating what your limit is, but also you can still offer support by way of the encouragement of perhaps you might want to go talk to a professional who has a greater capacity for the issues that you're dealing with. I have people in my circle, and they're very select few, and I call them my sacred circle, who I know sometimes they have to tell me, Tamara, my heart breaks and hurts for you, but this is a little bit above my pay grade. Maybe you need to go check in with your therapist. And you know what? Those people in my life, they're like treasure, because I would rather them tell me the truth. Listen, this is too heavy or this is too much, than to try to sit there with this capacity. And here I come, and I'm just pouring and pouring, and it's a mess, hot mess. Now they're hurt for me. I'm hurt because they cannot hold the space that I'm expecting them to. Like, you have to take the expectation off of people once you realize that this is what they are and this is what you are at the season. Take the expectation that they should be able to hold this for you because they love you. That's not how it works. No, the expectation should be, I love you enough to tell you I can't hold that for you. And so that's all I got for you, really. That's all I really wanted to communicate to you today, because I think it's an important thing for us to really sit with that in this season that we're going through. There is a lot going on in the world. Emotions are running high. Opinions are plenty. The offense-o-meter is off the charts right now. So you just want to know who you're talking to. You want to know their capacity for what you're talking to them about. You want to know that if people are truly in your corner, they're truly in your corner. And if you're celebrating something, you want to know that they have the capacity to celebrate you. Even if they aspire to be where you're at, but they're not there yet, they still have the capacity to celebrate you in that moment and not envy you or covet you because you have something that they desire. That's a whole other topic. Let me know in the comments if you want to talk about jealousy and envy and kind of like how to deal with that, how to recognize when you're feeling jealous and envious of somebody. Let me know down in the comments. And also let me know in the comments what you think about this concept of capacity and knowing what your capacity is and knowing what the capacity of the people in your circles are to hold space and take up space for you at any given moment with whatever it is that you're dealing with. I hope that you found this video useful. I hope that the information that I've given you is food for thought and something that you can take with you into your life and apply. And you know what I'm going to tell you. Stay sweet, stay beautiful, and remember, there's always time for a minute with Mom. You are loved, I love you, and God loves you more. Until the next one, I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.